Okay, we're going to do a little training video for logging in Rebar. Starting from the Metafield home screen, you'll select Field. Then you'll select Sampling. You'll want to make sure you have the correct project selected. So, to change the project, select Search. You have to select Search Projects, and then you can sort by project name or project number. I find it the easiest to sort by project number. For this demonstration, we'll use the test project. You type in the project number and click Search. The project will appear down here. You have to select the project. Now, Metafield has separated samples into two groups here. You got concrete, grout, and mortar, which consists of concrete cylinders, concrete flex beams, grout cubes, grout prisms, grout cylinders, mortar cubes, and mortar cylinders. Everything else will be under other sample types. Any other lab tests will be under other sample types. Okay, so since we are doing rebar, it's not part of the concrete, grout, and mortar. We're going to click down here and add a sample under other sample types. Okay, here's our subcategories. We're going to select metal samples for rebar. Okay, you'll select sampled by. That'll be, your name, and if you're logged into Metafield, it should default to your name. I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it as is. Sample date be the date sampled. Location is the name of the fabrication shop and the city. Okay, so for this we'll put quality steel or quality reinforcing in Poway. Okay. The structure is the building number and structural element. Either footing, grade beam, shear wall, whatever it may be. You want to put that in there as much detail as possible. And now is the time, the day that you sample it is the time to find that information out. If you're sent out to a fabrication shop and you don't have that information, it's a lot easier to track it down on the day of the sampling event rather than a month later when the engineer's trying to put the report together. So if you don't have the structure, please call your supervisor, call the PM, call the office, call someone. Let's try to figure it out that day rather than just putting the name of the job of the structure and not having any information, and trying to track it down later, it just never works out very well. So try to get as much information as possible. Structure, whatever, building 5 footings or whatever. Okay, so we'll type that in there. The authority, either DSA, OSHPD, or other. If it's DSA, make sure you type in the DSA file number, DSA application number. If it's OSHPD, make sure you type in the OSHPD number. And for the training purposes, we'll just leave it as other. Specimen count. So you can log in multiple samples under one Metafield entry. Okay, so up to 6. Okay, up to 6 samples in one entry. If you do more than 6, then you have to do multiple entries, but I think the majority of sampling events are under 6 samples. So the specimen count is not the total number of bars you're bringing in the lab, it's the total number of samples. So each sample consists of 2 like bars, one for tension testing, one for bend testing. Okay, so if we get a number 4 bar, a number 5 bar, and a number 6 bar, if we sample a number 4, 5, and 6 bar, that is 3 samples consisting of 2 bars each. So since we're taking 3 samples, we'll put a specimen count of 3, and we'll bill for 3 tests. Okay. Sampled at the fab shop, yes or no? Okay. Mill certs included. If you don't include your mill certs in your daily field report, here is a spot you can upload mill certs. If you've already included mill certs in your daily field report, don't bother uploading them again. Material unidentifiable. Let's talk about sample frequency real quick. So for concrete construction, you'll sample 2 bars for every 20,000 pounds if it's identifiable. Okay, if it's unidentifiable, you're going to sample it more frequent. It's going to be 2 bars per every 5,000 pounds. Okay, and say you're on a job site and the IOR comes up and hands you a set of rebar. Well, that rebar is unidentified because it's supposed to be sampled at the fabrication shop. Now that becomes your responsibility to document that in your daily field report and to log it into Metafield. Okay. So also, if he hands you one set, you better make sure that they only shipped, less than 5,000 pounds of the job. If they're shipping, 20,000 pounds to the job site, then make sure you sample it, more frequently because it's unidentified. Okay, so there's the option. Click yes or no for unidentifiable. Okay, material type. Either select bolts or reinforcing steel. We'll select reinforcing bar. Specimen data. This is where you can log in multiple samples under one lab number. Okay, so specimen data. You'll see a record number here. This is for our first set. So manufacturer, new, core, or whatever it is. Just type in the manufacturer, select the classification of the material. Okay, either 615, 706, or both. You'll find that on the mill sort or marked on the bar with a S or a W. S is 615, W is 706. Okay. The size and the heat number, whatever the heat number is. Okay. The grade, whatever the grade is. And since we're doing 3 samples for this entry, we're going to go ahead and add a record here. Okay, add a record. Now there's our first one, that was the one we just did. Our second one is going to be our number 5 bar. Select the classification. Oh, sorry, this is the manufacturer. New, core, material classification, number 5 bar, heat number, whatever it is, and grade, whatever it is. Okay, and then we can add a third record, or like I said, you can add up to 6 records here without having to do another entry, without having to do a whole nother lab number or sample number. Okay, new, core, material classification, whatever it is, size, whatever you're sampling, heat number, and grade. Okay, so now we got 3 records. We'll select next to continue. You'll see up here we're in lab instructions now. This is telling the lab what tests to run. Okay, for rebar, you're going to select tensile strength and bend test. Okay. Go down to next. Click on next. Now we're in specimens. Now, specimens for rebar, you're only going to create one record. It's not like when you log in concrete cylinders where you create a record for every break age. Okay, so for like cast cylinders, you know, typically set at 5, 4x8s, 1 at 7, 3 at 28 and a hold. You don't need to do that for rebar, okay? Because we're just testing that one sample that one time. That's it, just one record, okay? So leave this alone. If you put multiple records, you're going to build a client multiple times. Specimen size, we'll select bars for rebar. Next. It brings you back to the first main page here, and you can just scroll down and click save. Schedule future specimen retrieval. This is something that Metafield set up so that you can schedule pickups, but at this moment we're not using that feature, so go ahead and select no. And so if you're bringing it back to the lab, select no, and until further notice, don't try to use this for scheduling. Contact dispatch. Thanks. Hit no. Here's your sample number. Okay. That is your number associated with this set of rebar that you've just logged in. All 3 of those sets of bar will have this set sample number. On your tags, please add that to your tags. Please add the sample number to your tags when you drop it off to the lab. Okay. There's one more step here. You need to check in your specimens. So now you've logged them, you've saved it. Now you got to check them in. Okay. So you're gonna find the sample that we just created, 4, 5, 6, 9, 7. You're gonna select it, then select continue. Checked in by your name, date, and time, and select the lab that you're dropping it off at. Okay. So say we're dropping off at San Diego, select San Diego, hit save. Now that you've checked it into a lab, you've said, okay, I've dropped it off in San Diego. Now the lab will see it in their receiving list and start working on it. If you don't do that, we won't see it in the lab. Okay, so make sure you do that. You guys be safe out there. Have a good day. Thank you.